I found out I was pregnant on a Thursday morning. I was alone in my bathroom, hands shaking, staring at a positive test. I had a plan. I was going to tell my husband that weekend, candles, dinner, something special. I had 48 hours. That's all I needed. But my mother knew I had taken the test, and she couldn't wait 48 hours. By Friday night, my husband knew, and by Saturday morning, he was gone. To understand this story, you need to understand my relationship with my mother. She is not a malicious person. I want to say that clearly because this story could make her sound like a villain. And the reality is more complicated than that. She loves me. I have never doubted that. But she loves me in a way that has always felt slightly suffocating. The kind of love that doesn't know where it ends and where you begin. Growing up, she knew everything about my life. Not because I told her, because she found ways to know. She read my diary when I was 14. She called my college roommate to check on me when I didn't answer her texts within 2 hours. When I started dating Ryan, she had his full name Googled within 20 minutes of me mentioning him. Ryan, my husband, knew what she was like. He had been patient with it, more patient than most men would have been. But there was always a tension there that I tried not to look at too closely. I should have looked at it more closely. Ryan and I had been married for 3 years when this happened. We'd been together for 5. He was steady, practical, the kind of person who made lists and kept them. I loved that about him. He was an anchor when I tended to drift. We had talked about kids. It wasn't a secret that we both wanted them, eventually. But eventually had always felt soft and far away. We hadn't been actively trying. I had just stopped preventing. We hadn't even discussed that decision out loud, not really. It was one of those things we'd move towards silently. So when the test came back positive, there was no question about how I felt. I was terrified and thrilled in equal measure. I sat on the bathroom floor for about 20 minutes, just breathing. And then I made a mistake. A small one, I thought. I called my mother. I called her because I needed to tell someone. Ryan was at work. My best friend was in a meeting. My mother picked up on the first ring. Like she always does, I think she waits by the phone for my calls. Genuinely. I told her I was pregnant. I told her I hadn't told Ryan yet. I told her I was planning a special moment for the weekend. She cried. Happy tears, real ones. She said all the right things. She promised she wouldn't say a word. I believed her. I don't know why I believed her. I have 30 years of evidence that my mother cannot hold information that feels important to her. I think I believed her because I needed to. Because I had already told her, and the only way to feel okay about that was to trust she would keep it. She called Ryan at 2 p.m., 4 hours after I called her. I found out later she told him she was just so excited she couldn't help it. She couldn't help it. Ryan came home that evening, and I could tell immediately something was different. He was quiet in a way that wasn't his normal quiet. He made dinner without talking much. We sat down to eat. I was still planning the weekend reveal. I had no idea. Halfway through dinner, he put down his fork and said, "Your mom called me today." I felt my stomach drop. I said, "What did she say?" He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said, "Congratulations, I guess." The silence between us was enormous. I started explaining the plan, the candles, the weekend, how I had told her not to say anything. And as I was talking, I could see something shifting in his face, not softening, hardening. He said, "Why did you tell her before you told me?" And I didn't have a good answer. I tried to explain. I needed to tell someone. I was overwhelmed. I wasn't thinking, but every explanation sounded worse than the last because the truth was simple and painful. In the moment when I had the most important news of our marriage to share, my first instinct had been to call my mother. He said, "She always knows things about us before I do. I've never said anything because I didn't want to make you choose. But this was mine too. This was supposed to be mine too." He slept on the couch that night. I lay in our bed and cried until about 3 a.m. When I came downstairs at 7 a.m., he had a bag packed. Not a big bag, a weekend bag. He said he needed a few days to think. He said he wasn't leaving, he just needed space. He went to his brother's. I called my mother. I was not calm. I told her what had happened, that he'd left, that he needed space, that her phone call had caused this. She got defensive almost immediately. She said she was just excited. She said Ryan was overreacting. She said if he couldn't handle her being happy about her own grandchild, that said something about him. That conversation is when something shifted for me. Not about Ryan, about her. Because in that moment, with my husband at his brother's house and me standing alone in my kitchen 4 weeks, pregnant, my mother's primary concern was defending herself. I told her I needed space too. I hung up. That was the longest we had gone without speaking in my adult life, 11 days. Ryan came home after 4 days. We really talked for the first time about my mother, about the pattern, about how many times. Over 5 years, she had been the third person in our relationship when there should only have been 2. He wasn't angry anymore. He was sad. He said, I don't think you even notice it. I think it's just the water you swim in. He was right. And hearing him say it so clearly without accusation, just as a fact, was one of the harder moments of that conversation. We made an agreement, not a set of rules, exactly. More like a shared understanding. Our marriage was the primary relationship. Information about us moved through us first. My mother would have to learn a new way of being in our lives, or she would have access to less of it. That was 18 months ago. I'm sitting here with the 7-month-old asleep in the next room. My relationship with my mother is different now. Smaller in some ways. She knows less about my daily life than she used to. That was hard for her. There were months where she was cold to me, where I could feel her punishing me for the distance. But it's better. Genuinely better. Because the relationship we have now is one I chose instead of one I inherited. Brian and I are good. Better than before, I think, which sounds strange to say about something that started with him leaving with a weekend bag. But that conversation forced us to actually look at something we'd been politely stepping around for years. And looking at it together, even when it was uncomfortable, made us more solid. My daughter is 7 months old. My mother adores her. I let her. That part I'm grateful for. But she found out the sex of the baby at the same time Ryan did. Not before. Not from someone else. Together. Small thing. Everything. If your relationship has a third person in it, a parent, a friend, anyone who always seems to know too much, I want you to know that naming it isn't an attack. It's just the truth. Drop a comment if this resonated. Subscribe for more stories every week. Storytime Secrets was with you. I'll see you in the next one.